Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Lake Olmsted Stadium. It's game 2 of a 3-game Peach Belt Conference series here at the lake in Augusta, Georgia, between hometown Augusta University Jaguars as they get ready to host the Bobcats of Georgia College. The Bobcats go into this game facing the Jaguars 32-8 overall and 23-2 in conference play. They're in first place. We'll talk a little bit more about the standings shortly, but boy, they've had an outstanding year, and it's going to be a tough one here for the Jaguars, who go into this game 12-30 overall and 7-21 in Peach Belt Conference play. I'm Robert Ambrose alongside Blake Collins. Blake, how are you doing on this beautiful day here?
It's a gorgeous day for baseball, and anytime you have baseball on a day like this, it makes the whole day better. This is going to be a phenomenal game 2 with a very tough and raucous Georgia College lineup getting ready to face off against the Jaguars and go toe-to-toe. It should be a good shootout to the finish.
It absolutely should. Yesterday, game 1 was game 1 of the series last night. The Bobcats defeated the Jaguars 11-2. It early on was looking like a pitcher's duel. Matt Meeks, the starter for the Jaguars, pitched outstanding in 5+, and unfortunately, though, the starter for the Jaguars was a little bit better in his start yesterday. It was 2-1 in the 6th inning when it was looking like a pitcher's duel. Then the Bobcats, which leads the nation in just about every offensive category, began to show why.
Exactly, and let's not sell that short. For the first 5 innings, Matt Meeks holding this kind of offense to 2 runs and then scoreless after that was a win the first 5 innings, but then kind of trickled down and started to disintegrate a little bit, and that's when this high profile and prolific Georgia College offense took it to the skies and took over. And you look at it, they've got a stellar combination of discipline at the plate. They will put good at-bats together, make the Jaguars pitching staff work, and then when they get a pitch where they can attack it, they execute brilliantly, and that is where they tacked on a lot of runs in the later innings to make this a longer game than we expected last night. But at the same time, you got to see why they are ranked number 1, as you mentioned, and why they own 4 of the top 6 spots nationally in the Peach Belt Conference in batting average. They are electric on offense. Now, the Jaguars bullpen has a tough task ahead of them, but talking to some of the guys today, they are rearing back and ready to go and up for the task.
Well, that's always good to hear, Blake, as we talked earlier about yesterday's game, and the Bobcats, who led 2-1 in the 6th inning yesterday, they figured out Meeks, who was pitching outstanding, did his job to keep the Jaguars in the game. The Jaguars scored their first 2 runs of the game in the 1st inning in a 2-out rally, and were held scoreless until the 6th when they started to catch fire offensively. They scored 5 runs, took a 7-1 lead. The Jaguars answered with a run of their own to cut it to 7-2, and then 4 more Bobcats runs were scored in the top of the 9th to really blow it open and make it 11-2. And the Bobcats ultimately did what basically they expect to do every game, and blow teams away like they did yesterday. And the Jaguars will look to answer to that the call today, and in order to do that, they're going to rely on Cody Pugh on the mound to start in this game for the Jaguars. He began this season as a starter, started in 2 games early on, struggled, and was moved to the bullpen, and is making his first start of the season since that time here today, and we'll see how he answers the call. And we'll see also the Jaguars' offense can get something going. I think the key to today's game for the Jaguars, Blake, can the offense get going as well, and can they counter the Bobcats offense, assuming the Bobcats offense does what it always does?
The key to that for the Jags is to get on base any way you possibly can. They've been putting good, efficient at-bats together, but they haven't been able to consistently string those at-bats together and get crucial hits to play ABC baseball and to execute run production. And that's where, especially last night after the 1st inning, that kind of dwindled away. So look for a more disciplined approach at the plate for the Jags today, and you might see a little bit of selective aggressiveness too to attack the pitches they know they can handle and then shoot out of the gate strong here in the 2nd game.
Absolutely. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take a look an in-depth look, Blake, at the standings around the Peach Belt Conference, and also take a look at what other games will be in action today, as well as what happened yesterday around the league. After this, stay tuned. Welcome you back here to the lake. The umpires are meeting with the head coaches here as we get set for first pitch of Game 2 of this 3-game Peach Belt Conference Series between the Georgia College Bobcats and your hometown team, the Augusta Jaguars, here at Lake Homestead Stadium in Augusta, Georgia. I'm Robert Ambrose alongside Blake Collins. I'm going to take a quick look, an in-depth look here at the standings as they are now up to date here in the Peach Belt Conference. And there's a lot of disparity in this conference between the top teams and the middle teams and the bottom teams, and we'll start at the top and we'll work our way down. Georgia College, the Bobcats, up top, having a historic season. They're 23-2 in conference play and 32-8 overall. Just what a historic season they've had. And Columbus State in second place, 16-5 in conference play, 34-7 overall. And the Pacers across the border, Jaguars rivals of USC-Aiken, 18-7 in conference play, 27-16 overall. The Pacers very recently, just a couple weekends ago, swept the Jaguars here in the 3-game conference series. That was during Masters weekend. And North Georgia is 26-15 overall, 15-9 in conference play in fourth place. Flagler 15-10 in conference play, 29-16 overall. UNC Pembroke 12-12 in conference play, 31-12 overall. Young Harris 14-14. Both them and UNC Pembroke at even 500 in conference play. Young Harris is 24-21 overall. Lander 7-18. Francis Marion 7-20, and Augusta, the Jaguars 7-21 in conference play and overall 12-30. And Georgia Southwestern 4-20 in conference play at the very bottom of the standings and 8-30 overall. And you can see the difference in the standings between like the top, the middle class, and the lower teams. There's a lot of disparity when you divide it up, and especially at the top here. And not only that, talk about how good Georgia College has been, 23-2 in conference play. Columbus State just behind them in second place, and USC-Aiken and North Georgia are the top four teams. They're all having great runs, and they're all currently red hot right now, all on big win streaks.
Absolutely, it's going to be extremely tough to stop the top three teams in the conference and halt them from having a huge winning streak heading into playoff time. And as we're talking about it, you know the score from yesterday. Georgia College brought out the aluminum bats against Augusta University 11-2 yesterday. Today's a new day. We'll see what happens today. But then yesterday, you talk about Columbus State. They went toe-to-toe with Young Harris and edged them out 4-1. Lander, on the other hand, lost to USC Aiken, who we were talking about is the third ranked in the conference. They went down 5-0, and then UNC Pembroke brought out the whooping sticks against Flagler in a 10-2 rout, and then, which this will be the last score on yesterday's scoreboard, you've got North Georgia leading by 2, and then that is the routing number, winning by 2, 4-2.
And also, in today's games, we have Francis Marion with a 5-0 lead already early on against Georgia Southwestern. That's in the bottom half of the second inning. Of course, Jaguars hosting the Bobcats right here at the lake. Young Harris and Columbus State just underway, starting just now. They are scoreless early on. UNC Pembroke and Flagler and will take on each other. And Winston-Salem State takes on North Georgia in a out-of-conference matchup. Both those games beginning at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, and a couple 4 o'clock starts. Francis Marion takes on Georgia Southwestern. That's game 2 of a doubleheader beginning at 4 o'clock, with game 1 in the second inning right now, as I mentioned before. Francis Marion with a 5-0 lead as we see a very special ceremonial first pitch ceremony here at the lake. And as the ceremony of the first pitch has just happened, and also at 4 o'clock, the Pacers of USC Aiken will take on Lander University. So that wraps up the games that are be going on today. Thank you, Blake, for giving us the up-to-date information on yesterday's scores. As now we take a look at what else is going to go on today, we'll keep you updated on those scores as we progress through this game here today. And we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll give you the starting lineups and get you set for first pitch here on this beautiful day for baseball at Lake Homestead Stadium. We'll be back. Welcome you back to the lake. The Jaguars take the field and get set to begin game 2 of this 3-game Peach Belt Conference Series against the first-place Georgia College Bobcats. As the Jaguars have taken the field, let's take a look at the starting lineup of the Bobcats that the Jaguars are going to have to face in this game. Cal Gentry, the starting shortstop, will lead it off for the Bobcats. He's going to be followed by Matthew Miller playing first base, hitting second, hitting third. The designated hitter Wesley Womack. And Logan Maddox, the cleanup hitter, playing center field. Hitting fifth and playing left field, we have Nate Schmall. And the 3-4-5 hitters, Womack, Maddox, and Schmall, all hitting above 400 this season. And that's a very dangerous part of the lineup. And hitting sixth behind the plate, doing the catching, Brandon Purcell. Hitting seventh at third base, we have Garrett Green, also hitting above 400 this season, hitting seventh. That shows you how good their lineup is for the Bobcats. And we have hitting eighth, Mike Warren in right field, and the second baseman hitting ninth is Cassius Young. And now let's take a look at the defensive alignment for the Jaguars. Devin Billardello will lead off and play in center field, and in left field, Patrick Watson starting in right field, Harrison Moore. And round up the infield, we have Timothy Gray at first base, Mason Robertson at second base, at shortstop Trent Maddox, Jim Wagner at third base, the normal alignment for the Jaguars. Behind the plate doing the catching, Brent Alford, and starting on the mound for the Jaguars, Cody Pugh. I'm Robert Ambrose with Blake Collins as we are just about to get underway here at the lake.
And if you're on your way to the ballpark, you'll notice some tables out by the entranceway. It is Cancer Awareness Day here at Lake Olmsted Stadium, so any and all proceeds will go to the Cancer Research Center here today. So it's a great cause to come out
Absolutely.
And watch a gorgeous ball game on a beautiful day.
Talked yesterday we probably had the best weather of the year. I made this illusion yesterday, I'm going to say it again. The weather was as nice as Goldilocks' porridge, not too hot, not too cold.
Exactly.
It was just right, just perfect weather. Felt like you were indoors almost, and no humidity, which is rare for this part of the country at all. Same case today.
The only difference is the wind is picking up just slightly more than yesterday.
There was absolutely no wind in yesterday's game. That's grounded on the 1-2 pitch to second. Throw to first in time. Gentry is retired. One gone here in the first.
It's a good job by Pugh busting him away that time, and then he overreached with the plate coverage and rolled over the top of it. So a good pitch by Pugh to get the first out.
That's going to bring up Matthew Miller, the first baseman, batting second for the Bobcats. Cody Pugh is the starting pitcher for the Jaguars. In this game I mentioned during the pregame, Blake, he began the season as a starter, made two early season starts, very early season starts in fact. He struggled and was moved to the bullpen and is now back to being a starter, making his first start since that time, his third of the year.
And if you transition back to a starter, this is the type of pitcher you want on the mound who's started before and has the longevity with the arm that you can go back to a starting pitcher.
Grounded off of Pugh's glove right to Mason Robertson, who throws in time to first base. 2 up, 2 down. Miller is retired. That's going to bring up Wesley Womack. And it was at this part of the lineup in yesterday's game, both Gentry and Miller were retired to start the game for the first 2 outs of the first inning. And Womack reached base and on a double. And then Maddox got hit by pitch. Maddox, the cleanup hitter, on deck, will bat this inning if Womack can extend. And then following him, you have Schmall, who in yesterday's game drove them both in with the 2-out double. All three of these guys hitting above 400 this season. This is the heart of a very good Georgia College lineup.
I would not be surprised here if Pugh starts him off here, Womack off with a changeup, and he does just that on an off-speed pitch. It's a psychology behind it. The hitter's looking first pitch fastball, so you freeze him up with an off-speed pitch. That time it didn't pan out for Pugh, but an excellent game plan if he could have just executed that a little bit better.
And the pitch misses. Its count is now 2 balls and no strikes to Womack. Trying to extend the inning.
So now you might see him work on busting Womack inside here.
And that's popped up foul territory. That's going to go in the seats for a foul ball. The count is now going to be 2-1. Blake, you mentioned how this is Cancer Awareness Day at Lake Olmsted Stadium, and the promotion is, this is the biggest crowd we've seen all year. And it's pretty easily that.
Absolutely. I mean, It's a top of the line calling card when you've got the top ranked seed in the conference coming into your stadium, and you've got a good crowd on hand for this
Line
game.
to center, Bill Ardello dives, he makes the catch, and that ends the inning. A 3-up, 3-down defensive top of the first for the Jaguars. They come to bat here at the Lake as we go to the bottom of the first. No score. You're watching and listening to the Augusta University Athletics Network on YouTube. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Lake. It's the bottom of the first inning. The Jaguars coming to bat after setting down the Bobcats in order in the top of the first. Now let's take a look at the Jaguars starting lineup. Devin Billardello leading off and playing center field. And Billardello made the spectacular diving catch to end the top of the first inning to complete the 3-up, 3-down defensive inning for the Jaguars. We'll see if that's a sign of things to come. Right here at the start of the inning, he'll be followed by Mason Robertson hitting second and playing second. Zach Goebel back in the lineup tonight. He came into yesterday's game off the bench as a pinch hitter. He's doing the DHing today, hitting third. Harrison Moore hits cleanup, hitting fourth and playing right field. Jim Wagner, who's normally the cleanup hitter, moved down to the 5 spot and will play third base like normal. Timothy Gray at first base hitting 6th. Brent Alford, the catcher, hitting 7th. Patrick Watson starting today in left field, hitting 8th in place of yesterday's starter in left field, Jay Penley. And Trent Maddox hitting 9th and playing shortstop. So here's Bill Ardello leading off. And he's going to be facing Trevor Guthrie, the starting pitcher in today's game for the Georgia College Bobcats. And the first pitch dealt by Guthrie to Bill Ardello is a called strike, 0-1.
Again, good scouting on the game plan for Georgia College. Kind of started out there like Pugh did. Started off with an off-speed pitch instead of a fastball, and this time around for Georgia College gets a strike call.
Gets 2 strike calls and the count 0-2 on Bill Ardello. And the 0-2 pitch grounded on the sinker ball to short. Throw to first. Is that in time?
No, it is
Nope.
not.
Bill Ardello, great speed to beat that out.
On a slow developing play like that, and the ball, when it hit the grass, just kind of died and trickled out to Gentry. Gentry's closing speed could not cover enough ground in time. As much of a cannon as he had, Bill Ardello's speed was able to beat out the Rap at first base. So a pivotal run on the base pads and Bill Ardello at first base if the Jazz can get him across.
He does have good speed. It showed yesterday. Several points during the game. That's why he's a valuable leadoff hitter for the Jaguars. Robertson looks at a called strike. 0-1. Now the count. Trevor Guthrie this season on the mound in this game for the Bobcats deals the 0-1 pitch, and that swung on, that's fouled away, and now that's back-to-back hitters for the Jaguars to start this inning behind the count 0-2. Bill Ardello hit the infield single. On the season, Guthrie, overall, a 5.27 ERA this season. He's 2-0. However, he has struggled a little bit more in conference play. In conference play this season, a 5.65 ERA compared to a 5.27 overall ERA this season. He also appears to be better on the road, and that might play to his advantage tonight, being that the Bobcats are the road team visiting Lake Olmsted Stadium here. In road games, he has made 4 starts compared to 6 at home, and he has a 4.34 ERA on the road. At home, he has an even 6 ERA this season.
Right there, the fastball escapes his arm there and sails out and high.
Count 1-2 to Robertson. And we'll really see early on how the Jaguars face him. They struggled yesterday. But the big key to this game for the Jaguars, if they want to have success, is Robertson swings and misses on a nasty 1-2 curveball in the inside corner for out number 1. First strikeout of the game by Guthrie. That's going to bring up the designated hitter, Zach Goebel. If the Jaguars' offense can get things going, that'll be a huge recipe for success in this game. The pitch to Goebel. Called strike. Outside corner. 0-1.
It's a dangerous location, but if you can freeze the mind and freeze the bat of one of Augusta's best hitters, that's a good strategy to implement, as that ball was just right on the corner.
Now the pitch. Swung on line. Foul. 0-2.
As Goebel has been named Peach Belt Conference Regional Player of the Week in the past, and he's also had a couple of other accolades to his game as well. So a very tough opponent for Guthrie here.
And the 0-2 fouled away on a check swing. I think Goebel attempted to pull back on there to no avail, and the ball meets metal for a foul ball. And as a result, the count remains 1-2 instead of being 1-2. Guthrie is now facing his 3rd hitter in this game and inning, and he's been ahead 0-2 each time to each hitter. The 0-2 pitch misses 1-2. That gets by the catcher. On his way to second goes Bill Ardello, and not sure if that's going to be a wild pitch or a passed ball. We'll soon see.
You would think that's a pass ball because that's a catchable ball from Purcell that he just did not get glove on it. So you would think that's a pass ball, but it doesn't take much space between the glove and where the ball stopped on the walkway up to the batter's boxes for Devin Billardello and his speed to make his way to second.
And that is lined foul right back to the net, and that net may have saved some people in the press box.
It also saved a hit and run for Augusta it saved a hit and run for Georgia College. It's a bad break for Augusta because if that ball would have been even the slightest bit in the hole or in the gaps in the outfield, Augusta would have played their first run.
The 1-2 swung on and another pop-up. That's going to go into foul territory. And the catch is made by Matthew Miller. That's out number 2. Jaguars have a runner in scoring position in Bill Ardello on second. And it's really important for the Jaguars to be able to cash in when they have opportunities. They left the bases loaded in the second inning yesterday after scoring a run. And really didn't have another real big opportunity after that in yesterday's game. Here's the cleanup hitter, Harrison Moore.
Well, that time just Goebel got underneath the baseball and jacked it up into foul territory, and there was no room for Billardello to even try to advance on that pop-up.
And the pitch misses for a ball, 1-0. The 1-0, swing and a miss. 1-1. The count on Harrison Moore.
Guthrie has got excellent rotation and spin on his splitter that he's featuring right now. It's fooling these Jags hitters and to have them swing over the top.
1-1, foul tipped. 1-2.
Went with the splitter, and the last pitch came right back roaring with a fastball. So it'll be interesting to see what Guthrie opts to implement here in a 1-2 scenario to Harrison Moore.
Now the 1-2, swing and a miss. And they're going to have to throw the first to complete the strikeout. And they do. And that ends the inning. So the Jaguars get a runner in scoring position in Bilardello on second, but strand him. And we go to the top of the second. The game is still scoreless. On the Augusta University Athletics Network on YouTube, we'll be back. Welcome back to the lake. At the top of the second, no score. The Jaguars set the Bobcats down in order in the top of the first, and now back in the field for the top of the second, and it will be Logan Maddox, the cleanup hitter for the Bobcats, leading things off. He's the designated hitter in this game for the Bobcats as well. And Pugh, who's on the mound, Cody Pugh for the Jaguars, who's really struggled this season, off to a good start. Still early, we'll knock on wood, of course, but 3-up, 3-down inning should be a big confidence booster for him.
And he was aided by superb defense out in center field by Bilardello with that diving stab to put the kibosh on the first inning with no runs being ushered in. So the defensive battery, if you will, from the pitching to the defense comes up big for Augusta. Let's see if they can do that right here.
2 balls and no strikes. On Maddox, the pitch misses. 3 balls and no strikes is now the count. And right when we talk about how he was off to a good start, he throws 3 pitches out of the strike zone to start the inning. And the 3-0 pitch misses, and that's 4 straight out of the strike zone. And Maddox draws a walk to lead off the inning. First base runner of this game for the Bobcats. And that's going to bring up Nate Schmall, who hit a big 2-run double with 2 outs in the first inning of yesterday's game, which gave the Bobcats the early 2-0 lead. And the Bobcats did not score again until the 6th when they scored 5 runs to start to pull away, and then they scored 4 in the 9th to really blow it open on their way to an 11-2 Game 1 victory. Check on the runner at first, and Maddox is able to get back safely.
You want to try to keep him as close to the bag as you can, because not only does it keep him from trying to steal, but it also reduces the strategic points of a hit and run. Even though Maddox does have good speed, if he can't get enough of a lead out there, then the possibility of a hit and run could be off the table.
The pitch misses to Schmall, 1-0. Talked earlier about how this is Cancer Awareness Day at Lake Olmsted Stadium, and it's one of the best crowds we've seen all year. Actually, it is indisputably the best crowd we've seen in all of 2018. There are all sorts of tables set up giving people information, and in case you missed some of the pregame ceremonies, we're tuning in late, but we saw several very special ceremonial first pitches, and then a moment of silence in observance of the many cancer patients out there trying to fight the terrible disease. And also We saw the players with several purple balloons that they set off and let go of before taking the field. It's part of the ceremony. Ground to the second. Robertson to the second in time. And the first, that's also in time, a double play. And a huge double play as Maddox and Schmall are both retired. And that will bring up Brandon Purcell, the catcher.
Just what the doctor ordered. And remember, when we talked about previously in the bat, keeping Maddox close right there and not allowing him to get a big lead, and that kept the possibility of that hit and run off the table, and that loomed large in the double play for Augusta because they had enough time. Even though the ball was hit pretty solidly to short, they still had enough time to get it, transfer it cleanly, and turn the twin killing.
They absolutely did. Count a ball and no strikes on Purcell. And Mason Robertson, what a busy day he has had through the first inning and 2/3. He's had 3 balls hit to him. He's made the play all 3 times. He made 2 plays to first base on groundouts in the first inning and gets a double play turned this inning.
And the crucial point to a double play, especially as a receiver at second, is that pivot foot to pivot and then transfer to fire cleanly. He had an immaculate reception and then also going in with a very clean transfer and pivot to turn it on a tight play at first base. So an absolute all-around perfect play for Mason Robertson there.
And the 3-0 pitch is in there for a called strike, 3-1. Pugh has fallen behind 2 hitters this inning, 3-0. He walked Maddox, and that was erased by the double play on the ball ground to Robertson, and now he walks Purcell in 5 pitches. Second walk issued this game, and that's going to bring up Garrett Green. And it's not too often where you see a guy hitting above 400 on the season and hitting 7th, but that's how good this Bobcat lineup is.
Doesn't matter where you hit any of the guys in the order, they have the ability and prospects to come through at any given moment in this game. So 1 through 9 for the Bobcats order is very tough to try to warrant outs by.
And the pitch to Green misses for a ball 1-0.
And it's also, as we talked about a little bit last night, for a catcher to lead the league in steals like Purcell is doing, it's hardly ever seen in the game of baseball, and that is elite company that Georgia College has for a catcher to lead the league in steals.
2 balls and no strikes. Now the count to Green.
Pugh has shown definitely through the first inning and 2/3 the ability to dial back his pitches when he has men on base, especially this game, to pitch more to contact and to get out of jams.
And now the 2-0 fouled away, 2-1.
Good game plan here from Pugh with busting him high and tight inside. It does open up the lower outside corner third of the strike zone for Pugh to exploit if he wants to, because now if you're thinking about Pugh going inside, you choke up on the bat a little bit and don't have as much plate coverage.
Line caught by Robertson at second, and his busy day defensively continues, and the top of the second ends. As we go to the bottom of the second, Jaguars coming to bat. No score at the Lake. We'll be back. We are back at the lake. We are scoreless as well. It's the bottom of the second inning, and Jim Wagner, the senior third baseman for the Jaguars, will lead off the inning. He's going to be followed by Timothy Gray and then Brent Alford. Wind starting to pick up and blow out towards right center field gradually here. Pitch to Wagner, misses, 1 ball and no strikes. Now is the count.
And it's just enough wind movement out there that anything hit into right center field is going to pick up and carry the ball further than if there was no wind in sight.
2 balls, no strikes. Now the count on Jim Wagner. Here's the pitch. And that's fouled away, 2-1. And the 2-1 and a strike.
Wagner's a fighter and a very disciplined hitter at the plate, so he will give you a good AB up there at the dish.
And the 3-1 popped up. That's going to stay in the infield, and the catch is made by Gentry, the shortstop. And Wagner is retired after getting the green light ahead in the count with the count 3-1 for out number 1. Here's Timothy Gray.
Yesterday, Gray had a 3-hit day to his resume yesterday, and he looks to do the same here. And with also Guthrie pitching off his right hand.
Out 3-0, followed by Brent Alford. If I was taking all the way 3-1 in the first inning, and he succeeded at that. 5 hitters he has faced since then. And he deals a ball to Brent Alford, 1-0. Villardella was ultimately stranded on second to end the first inning after he advanced to second on a passed ball. 1-0 pitch, called strike, 1-1. And 1-1, that's also a called strike, 1-2.
Nice late movement on the slider there from Guthrie. Started in at the dish and tailed at the last second over the outside corner.
The 1-2, swing and a miss. Down on strikes, Alford. 6 straight retired for the Jaguars by Guthrie, as Jaguars have not been able to hit the ball out of the infield yet in this game. As we go to the third inning, no score. We'll be back. Welcome back here to the lake. It's the top of the third inning, and it'll be Michael Warren leading it off for the Bobcats. He looks at a called strike on the first pitch he sees from Cody Pugh. Count 0-1. He'll be followed by Cassius Young, and then back to the top of the order in Cal Gentry. Grounded to short. Bobbling it, Maddox bobbles it, and he can't recover. And on to start the inning is Warren, and that'll likely be an error on the shortstop Maddox on what could have been a bang-bang play.
Yeah, that speed was going to make it extremely tough, even if he gobbled it cleanly and transferred it cleanly. And the fundamentals are always a key to good defensive stands out on the defense, and
Absolutely.
We'll see if that comes back to haunt Augusta here. But if you're Pugh, even though you think they're going to sacrifice right now, you still want to stay inside of your game and pitch to the spots where your defense is to give you the best chance to get out of this jam.
Absolutely, and that's a pair of checks on Warren. He gets back both times. Warren, the runner, on first. Young has not yet seen a pitch yet in this at-bat. Here's the pitch, and he gets the bunt down. It's a beautiful bunt. A bare hand pickup by Pugh. He throws to first in time for the out, and Young succeeds with the sacrifice bunt, and Warren goes to second. One gone here, and that's going to bring up Cal Gentry, the leadoff hitter.
So you always see hitters making adjustments to the pitchers in the game. Also, pitchers can make adjustments here too, and that's what, to be able to get out of this jam, that Pugh is looking to illustrate that he can make the adjustments needed to slap a 0 up on the board for the Jags defense, because right now the Bobcats have a pretty sizable hole from short to third and then from second to short.
He's already put up a pair of zeros, trying to turn that into a trio of zeros here in the third. Count a ball and no strikes on Cal Gentry, who grounded out his first time up. The Bobcats, and that's going to get by Alford, and on his way to third, Warren on looks like a wild pitch. The Bobcats have yet to record a hit, but they have had 3 base runners as a result of 2 walks and the error by Trent Maddox at short on the ground ball hit by Warren. 2 balls and no strikes is now the count on Gentry, with Warren, the runner on third, who has reached on an error, advanced to second on a sacrifice bunt, and to third on a wild pitch. Talk about ABCs. 2-0 fouled away, 2-1.
And when you can play ABC baseball, that means your offense is cooking with Crisco on all cylinders, being able to sacrifice themselves. It's more of a team effort at that instead of an individualized outlook on the offense, and that's attributed to a lot of their wins that they've had. As we mentioned, they're tops in the Peach Bowl Conference in wins, sitting in first place with about 23 wins in the conference and a very sizable win-to-loss differential overall.
3-2, the count now on Gentry. And the pitch misses inside, and that's the third walk issued in this game by Pugh. And the Bobcats in business, runners at the corners, only 1 out. Here's Matthew Miller, who also grounded out his first time up.
But if you're Pugh, don't get frustrated, don't lose confidence, and don't pitch yourself out of your game, because you still can get out of this inning with no damage being done. All you'd have to induce here is a ground ball to get yourself a double play, and you're shot right back out of this inning with no harm done.
Absolutely. The Jaguars middle infield in normal double play depth. We see Timothy Gray holding on Gentry at first base, and Wagner playing right on the baseline at third. Called strike to Miller.
And if you're Miller here, you want to try to elevate Pugh's pitches a waistline or higher, so that way you can get the ball elevated and out of the double play infraction zone to where you can acquire an RBI.
And the 0-1 pitch misses a ball and a strike on Miller. Aces are wild, a ball, a strike, and out. Runners at the corners, no score. Top of the third at Lake Olmsted Stadium. The 1-1 pitch down the right field line. That's fair, and that's a base hit. Scoring is Warren. And to third, Gentry, a successful hit and run by Miller. Runners remain at the corners. Still 1 out, and the Bobcats lead it 1-0 here in the third. Still in business with still 1 out. And now the heart of the lineup coming up. And this is exactly what the Jaguars did not want to have to face this inning. But they have to face now Wesley Womack, the designated hitter, hitting over 400 in this game 0 for 1 today, however. He flew out for the third and final out of the first inning on the spectacular diving catch by Bill Ardello.
You've got the heart of the order and two of the guys that are in the top 6 in batting average at the dish, but that was a good effort there by Gray, having to reach across his body to try to come up with that ground ball. It's one of the toughest fielding plays you'll ever see from the corners, and he just could not put leather on the baseball in that instance. You got to give him an A for effort, but it does cost the Jags a run.
The 0-1. High chopper. Back to Robertson to second for 1. Over to first. Not in time. And another run scores as Gentry was running on contact from third, and it's 2-0.
Not only can they kill you from a power perspective, but they're fundamentally strong in the ABC department for Georgia College. These last 2 runs that they've garnered have been on manufacturing station-to-station ABC baseball, and it's working to pure T perfection here in the top half of the third inning.
Now the cleanup hitter coming to bat now, and Logan Maddox, senior from Loganville, his own town. 1-0 the count. And a check on the runner at first, and Womack's able to get back safely. Right now the error by Maddox really looming large this inning, as the Bobcats with 2 runs off of just 1 hit in this game so far. And the count is even on Maddox, a ball and a strike.
There's a second half to that pitch right there, though, with Alford freeze framing that pitch and really cinching in that strike for Pugh.
Pitches a ball, runners going, throw down to second. Not in time, stolen base for Womack. And the count on Maddox is 2 balls and a strike.
The ball got redirected over to short at some point in that play, so I'm wondering if it kind of hit the glove and may have redirected off of that. But it's still, you've got Womack at second in a run that the Jags need to contain out there at second.
And the 2-1 pitch, swing and a miss by Maddox, 2-2. And now the 2-2 pitch, swung on, grounded to third. Wagner in perfect position. Throw on the money across the diamond, and that ends the inning. But not before we welcome you back here to the lake. It's the bottom of the third. The Jaguars coming to bat, trying to answer after trailing 2-0. Jaguars offense struggles have continued so far in this game. They have not been able to hit the ball out of the infield at all in the first 2 innings. Bill Ardello is the only base runner with the only hit of the game on an infield single to shortstop. And Watson looks at a ball on the first pitch he sees, 1-0.
Yeah, Guthrie's done a really good job of keeping the Jags out in front of the baseball, and them having to try to stay back and roll over the top has not been good for the Jags.
And Watson grounds one to center field for a base hit, so the Jaguars there for the first time in this game hit the ball out of the infield. Watson, the leadoff man, on in this game, in this inning. And here's Trent Maddox looking to redeem himself after the error in the third inning, in the top of the inning.
Watson there with good body control throughout the swing, levels the ball off, and then just stays back and shoots it back up into right center field with a single.
And Mr. Maddox misses for a ball, 1-0.
And it's interesting because now you look at the outfield alignment for Georgia College. The right fielder for Georgia College, Michael Warren, hasn't played in right center field. So Maddox has all but every part of the line and a good portion of right field open if he wants to direct a base hit in that area.
2 balls, no strikes to Maddox. He shows bunt, and he gets it down. It's a good one, and Guthrie's going to throw to first. And that's a wide throw, and it's going to go into the outfield and hustling around third, Patrick Watson, and he's going to score, and Maddox is hurt. He went straight down after colliding with the first baseman, Matthew Miller. The trainers are running out to take a look, and then Maddox went straight down after the collision. He has not gotten up at all. That does not look good. And we'll see what the ruling is on that bunt, as Maddox simply just tried to get down a sacrifice bunt and get Watson over. Mm-hmm. He's able to do a little bit more than that, as Watson ends up scoring all the way from first on the overthrow. And that is an error as a result of the overthrow by Guthrie.
At first glance, it looked like, as we saw Guthrie's throw sail on him a little bit, but it looked like Maddox collided with Miller's arm straight to the head. It was inadvertent as all get out, but let's hope he can stay in this game and just got the wind knocked out of him a little bit, as that was a hard contact play. Inadvertent as all get out, but a costly mistake here for Georgia College allows the Jags to come across with their first run of the game.
Still nobody out this inning. And we're back to the top of the order in Devin Billardello. Maddox wants to stay in the game, but they're still being careful, trying to make sure it's safe to do so.
Because you got to remember, too, you use your equilibrium in ways in this game that you don't normally think you would, especially on defense with trying to go side to side to get to any ground balls, especially in the position that Maddox plays. So it's imperative that he is able to go and can adjust to the speed of the baseball when it's hit to him, and it's looking like he is going to stay in this game, exhibiting the toughness of the Jaguars here with Maddox staying in.
Back to the top of the order, Devin Billardello reached to lead off this bottom of the first on an infield single. And he bats now and looks at a ball 1-0. The Bobcats are having Garrett Green play in at third base in case of a bunt. As Maddox bunted an at-bat at go, same situation here with Billardello up. We'll see how he does it. Maddox is running, and a pitch is a foul ball. So Maddox definitely appears okay after the collision, trying to run it off.
And that is a great sign, too, because he pulled off a great jump. It was 3.5 steps, and the first step he took, the second, was a beautiful jump. And even though it was a hit and run, if that ball wouldn't have been hit, he probably would have been on second. But as it stands right now, Maddox is looking really good at first base.
The 1-1 swung on. He may have foul tipped it for strike 2. 1-2 on Billardello. Will be followed by Mason Robertson, who waits on deck. Robertson has had a very busy defensive day in this game, and he's made every play on the balls that have been hit to him. The 1-2. Swung on down the right field line into the corner. Fouled into the Bobcats bullpen. That remains 1-2.
It's a good job of scouting when he stepped out of the box the last time, seeing that right field was open. So Bordello changes his approach there to go to the opposite field. If he'd got out in front of that ball just a little bit more and not the Bobcats would have been in
Through
trouble.
the hole on the Maddox that time.
But seeing as they were 1 or 2 steps he had.
Guthrie go ahead run Bilardello at the plate. And we'll see if any of the good defensive plays we've seen by Robertson in this game are a sign of things to come offensively as he bats now. He's 0 for 1. However, at the plate in this game, he struck out his first time up back in the first. And now we'll have to wait and see if the Bobcats go to their bullpen a little early today, depending on how things play out for Guthrie. He has hit his first bump here in this one. The Bobcats yesterday did not go to their bullpen until the 7th inning. Height pitched outstanding through 6 innings, gave up only 2 runs. And Bradley Kamak came on to start the 7th and pitched 3 very solid shutout innings to close out the game and the win for the Bobcats in yesterday's game, and resting the majority of the bullpen otherwise.
You would have liked to have seen Robertson squared up just a little bit better. He had the right idea there by letting the ball attack the bat. So anytime you allow the ball to attack the bat on a bunt, it deadens the ball instead of you attacking it, and it migrates further on up the third baseline or wherever you're bunting it. So if you allow the ball to attack the bat, it deadens it right off the bat.
Snap throw to second. Back in time. Maddox, who had a huge jump off of first base, and a better throw by Purcell maybe would have got him there on the snap throw.
Where he was positioned up the third baseline, throwing across his body, that sailed on him to the right, and that's what allowed Maddox there to shoot back into second base safely.
Robertson showing bunt. The infield corners are in for the Bobcats, and Robertson fouls one away. Count 1-2. Now he'll likely have to abandon the bunt.
Not only abandoning the bunt, but also in protection mode as well.
Absolutely. The corner infielders for the Bobcats remain in just in case he tries to drop down a surprise and take the risk with 2 strikes. He shows bunt once again, and we'll have a check on the runner at second. This is a bunting situation with runners on first and second with nobody out, although with 2 strikes, it's a high risk. As a fouled bunt is the one exception to the rule and the one instance where you can strike out on a foul ball in baseball. The 1-2 pitch, he pulls back after showing bunt, and it's a ball, 2-2.
The way Georgia College is playing, if the bunt is executed, it gives Maddox third base freely without a throw because the shortstop is not rotating to third base. It would put in question the runner for the Jags at first to be able to get to second because they're gunning on taking out the back runner.
He bunts it down, and it's a foul ball, and Robertson is out. And he's down on strikes for the second time in this game as a result of the foul bunt. So the risk does not pay off for the Jaguars. It backfires. That's out number 1. Here's Goebel. Goebel flew out to first base his first time up. He's 0 for 1. Back into his normal position today as the starting designated hitter. He came off the bench in yesterday's game as a pinch hitter in the 6th inning. And had 2 plate appearances yesterday, flew out both times. And he looks at a ball, 1-0. 2 on and 1 out. The 1-0 pitch misses 2 balls and no strikes to Goebel.
He tried to nail the inside corner on a breaking pitch that just sails a little bit too far inside.
And the 2-0. That's a called strike, 2-1. Goebel this season has been awarded at different points the Regional Player of the Week and the Peach Belt Conference Player of the Week. Grounded to third, step on the bag to get the lead runner easily, throw to first, not in time. So that retires Maddox, and Billardello on the fielder's choice advances to second. And Billardello is able to beat out the throw across the diamond to first and avoid the double play. And that's going to bring up the cleanup hitter, Harrison Moore.
But if you're Georgia College, you will actually trade that out right there because it takes Maddox's good speed off the Jags' base pads, and then it allows for a slower Goebel to get on the base pads.
And the runner at second, Billardello, ran with the pitch. The pitch is the ball. 1-0 on Harrison Moore, and Billardello steals third. Goebel, however, stays put at first.
And it's a good idea because with Goebel's speed and with Purcell's arm that we saw last night, you don't want to take a chance in trying to steal a base and run yourself out of this threat that you have on the base pads right now.
Harrison Moore is third on the Jaguars team in average, a .325 hitter this season. He has 11 doubles and a home run to his credit. Grounded to short, throw over to first in time for the out, and the side is retired, but not before the Jaguars score a run, trim the deficit in half. They trail at 2-1 as we go to the fourth. We'll be back. Welcome back here to the lake. Start the top of the fourth. The Bobcats coming to bat, leading the Jaguars 2-1. And to give you the play-by-play for the heart of the game, here's Blake Collins.
Thank you, Robert. As you've got Cody Pugh still trekking out on the mound, and he fires a first pitch. Dead red target on the outside corner, lower half the outside corner, but seizes the first strike. As he's up against Nate Schmall. And Pugh's hanging tough and going toe-to-toe as he's at a deadlock 1-1 count. And that bouncer to third base just sneaks inside the third base line in fair territory. Schmall capitalizes on an outside corner fastball and just bounces it past Wagner. And just what the doctor ordered for the start to the fourth inning by the Bobcats. And now that gives way to Brandon Purcell, the catcher.
Purcell drew a walk his first time up after Schmall grounded out into a double play. That was back in the second inning.
A bunt attempt by Purcell. Remember, his speed is going to make it tough for Wagner, but that cannon cannot beat the Purcell speed, as it was a bang-bang play, and ties usually go to the runner, and Purcell neglects an out for the Jaguars. And now that also opens up second base for Purcell to swipe, because you don't want to throw up the second, as that ball is roped into right center field. Moore camps under for the first out, but Schmall shoots on home after tagging up from third, 90 feet away from the plate, for the Bobcat third run of the evening. And now you've got, it's looking like Michael Warren up at the dish. And a throw back. Purcell slides back in feet first into first base and secures his first base bag. So you got Purcell at first. Green flew out to right center field. And now any further damage is in the bat of Michael Warren. And that ball is roped in. Wagner with a beautiful diving stab, but the throw sails on him, and Purcell migrates over to second base. But a gorgeous effort on the second out there for Jim Wagner. Sprawling out, laying out with his body, and connecting with the glove for the out. An absolute tremendous play. Garners the second out and almost had the inning-ending double play.
It was a great play and a great catch to stop another base hit down the line, which is the part of the game. The corners are where the Bobcats really love to be hitting the ball. And it showed yesterday, and it's shown so far here today and that play. But I think Purcell was basically almost back to the base before Wagner started to throw. And you have to wonder if it was really worth the attempt there.
Especially with Purcell's speed, because you know, as that ball is bounced to Wagner again, a second chance, and glory is obtained as the inning comes to a close. So the atonement for Wagner is evident there. Let's see what the Jazz can do on their fourth inning of offense, rolling right around the corner when we come back. critical mistake last inning does not affect the Jags, though. It has a second chance and atones for that throw. Comes up now at the dish to strike gold with his bat and get on base for the Jags, down 2. And that's a fastball that dials up outside. Wagner toe-to-toe with Guthrie. And Wagner sprays one off to the left in foul territory. Wagner launches one a little bit further in foul territory out toward Millage Road here at Lake Olmsted Stadium. Thankfully, no cars were coming by in the process. And that ball's conked into shallow right field. The second baseman does all he can to get to that baseball, but keeps it in front of him. But with Wagner's speed, there was no attempt on the throw. So Wagner stands at first base with a leadoff single.
The key so far to success offensively for the Jaguars in this game and what they've been able to use is speed on the base pass. We've seen that twice by Bill Ardello on his infield single, and again there by Wagner.
Wagner can dance around and do some damage, and if you're Guthrie, you don't want to concentrate on him as much as the guy up at the plate in Timothy Gray. Well, Gray, first pitch swinging, bounces one to second to short. 4-6-3 is your line score for that double play, and just when you thought the Jags had a threat going, the Bobcats come in and say, no, you don't. And now Brent Alford, the veteran catcher, stands in looking to put a charge into the baseball and maybe get a double or a single, and he gainers at a first pitch ball a little inside. That ball is ripped solidly to Gentry at short. Transfer and a quick bottom half of the fourth inning is in the books. The fifth inning rolls right around with the Bobcats up at the dish after the break. Cody Pugh is itching to dial up a 1-2-3 inning for the Jags, but he'll have to tamper with the top half of the Bobcat order in Gentry, Miller, and then in the hole the powerful Womack. As Pugh, again, has been authorizing good pitching strategy throughout the game. Starts Gentry off for a second inning in this game with a breaking pitch. Comes right back again with another breaking ball. This time a little bit far outside of the plate. 1 ball and 1 strike. Cinches in on the outside corner this time for Pugh. Devastating fastball that froze Gentry right in his tracks. And Gentry is awaiting the 1-2 pitch. Ball served into left field via the 6-5 gap. As Gentry was down a strike, but he didn't let that affect him and serves a solid single into left field. So let's see what Matthew Miller can do against Cody Pugh. That ball is pounded into the ground at third. Wagner takes a sure out over at first base. Miller up. 1 man down.
Yep. Gentry was running with the pitch. On an attempted steal, he had such a great jump, there was no chance for the double play.
So Wagner with a good frame of mind to at least look to second, realize that, and then fire over to first.
By the time the ball reached Wagner's glove on the ground ball, Gentry was already to second.
Right. And at that point, there's no use in trying to force a throw when you don't have to. And Pugh breaks off the outside corner. So it is 1 ball and no strikes. And that ball's beat into the ground, and Pugh's got Gentry in a rundown. And a little bit of leapfrog action there, as I believe it goes 6, or no, it'll go 1, 6, 5 on the put out for the second out.
And good awareness by Pugh. He noticed, Gentry, he likes to get good jumps, and it worked for him when he got to second, although it kind of backfired there when he was trying to go to third. He took a little too much of a jump, and he was not a potential force out, so he didn't have to go. And Pugh recognized that and was able to have the good reaction time to get the lead runner. And obviously he had no worry about letting Womack get on first, no problem.
But now he's going to have to contend with Logan Maddox in the dish. The cleanup hitter was in the lineup yesterday at the 5 hole, moves up 1 position, and is looking to deliver the Bobcats' 4th and possibly 5th run. But Pugh has other ideas in store, as his next pitch is skied up into center field. And Mason Robertson, shallow center field, puts the kibosh on the 3rd out. And that's how the top half of the 5th wraps up. We will extend it into the bottom half of the 5th when the Jaguars bring their aluminum bats to life after this.
No one
For Guthrie's 5th tour of duty here in this game, he will do battle against Patrick Watson, who singled his last time up. And Watson fouls the first pitch off. Got the second baseman for Georgia College, respecting Watson's power and playing him in deep, or shallow rather, right center field. As Watson awaits the 0-2. He ganders at that one, meeting the dirt, so it is 1 ball and 2 strikes. And another pitch upstairs, but outside, to deadlock the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Watson's battling here, staying alive. 2 balls and 2 strikes after he fouled a high fastball, arguably in the same location. They're back. And Guthrie reaches for a little bit too much velocity on that fastball and elevates that fastball too high. So we get a juice count at 3 balls and 2 strikes. And Watson gets some aluminum on it and towers it to left field, where the first out is clamped down, and that will give way to Trent Maddox, who had a scare out at first base his last time up, trying to beat out a sacrifice bunt. And good to see him back up at the dish right now, going toe-to-toe against Guthrie. As that ball scoots outside and high. And Maddox trying to time up that change up there. Guthrie took a little bit off, and Maddox fouls it back. Tried to mosey over the outside corner, but stationed too far outside. 2 balls and 1 strike. A splitter with good velocity on it dies, but it cannot obtain a swing from Maddox, so he's ahead in the count. 3 balls and 1 strike. Guthrie battles back, though, with the same splitter, same location. This time, Maddox does try to get a base hit off of it and comes up empty. And that ball's shot out into center field, where Logan Maddox obtains the second out. And now the Jags turn their lineup card over to Devin Billardello. And Guthrie delivers a slow arcing curveball, dropping right into the inside corner for the first strike. Decides to pick up speed with that fastball. tails on him a bit, so it's outside for a ball and a strike. Bill Ordello looks to send that ball to Greenstreet, but all he can do with it is foul it back to the net. Bill Ordello is putting up a good fight at the dish. We've got a couple of spectators in the form of pigeons up here watching the game with us.
They have a good place in the stadium where they're able to get a good view.
Absolutely. You had one the other day with us that was here for about two or three innings.
Yeah,
watching
they
the game.
were. Their head was definitely face down at the stadium and into the field.
Absolutely.
During the action.
Admiring it, but also wondering what the heck is going on.
As birds always do.
Absolutely. Graceful as ever when they fly. As beautiful as ever when they're just watching things and the action at bay. And Bill Ordello continues to have a never say die attitude at the dish, as this is the third or fourth pitch he's fouled off, and he's kept the count at bay at 2 balls and 2 strikes. And I love this mentality for Bill Ordello because it's spoiling really good pitches that Guthrie is trying to secure the strikeout on.
And Bill Ordello not making it easy at all.
So it was a fastball high that Bill Ordello started to hold up, but then he fouled it back. And the battle is won by Devin Bill Ordello. Didn't try to do too much with that high fastball, just put phenomenal aluminum on it and served it back into right center field with good opposite field approach with 2 outs. Could be the surge that the Jags are looking for down
Absolutely.
by 2. And now the fight will continue through the bat of Mason Robertson up at the dish. Bill Ordello retreats back to first. Splitter drops at the last second out of the strike zone. As Robertson looks to send that one all the way to 15th Street, but comes up with nothing but air on that swing. Ganders at a fastball that maneuvers out of the strike zone. Robertson is in a hitter's count right now, 2 balls and 1 strike. Let's see if he works it to get a pitch to his liking. He does strike at that one, but the timing is a little bit late and fouls it off. Back to the cargo net. Now, Robert, you'll see with the new stadiums that the cargo net in minors and in the majors are all the way to the dugout and a little bit beyond for extra safety for the fans that are sitting right by the dugouts and in front of the concourse, in front of the walkways.
And here at the lake, it just goes to the dugout, and that's
Right.
it. It stops there.
Right.
So you're not completely safe if you're a fan unless you're behind the bench.
Absolutely.
Basically.
As Robertson turns on one and launches it to right center field. Billardello is coming in strong. He is out at home plate. A good, strong throw from right field. Hit the cutoff man perfectly, and then the fundamentals with that cutoff man throwing the ball extremely hard to home plate works out in droves there for Georgia College as they quell the Jags and stifle them from securing their second run.
Tough way for the inning to end for the Jaguars, but they had the right idea. There's no question about that.
And the right man aboard, too, because Billardello is arguably their fastest runner on the team. And just good execution from the Bobcats leads us on into the 6th inning. Man, oh man, what a way to conclude the 5th. What does the 6th have in store? Come on back to find out. Pugh is set to begin his 6th inning of work here this afternoon. And he will go to war with Nate Small up the dish. And the first pitch is away. Good effort there by Gray. Tries to dive to make the diving stab, but the ball took a funky hop on him and hopped over the outstretched glove into right field. So Small with a leadoff single to start the 6th.
The catcher, number 11, Brandon Purcell.
It's going to be tough here, Robert, to double up Brandon Purcell, but that's what the Jags are looking to do to quell the threat that's ongoing.
And he is for a catcher, he's very fast. He's the team leader in stolen bases, and he's the catcher. And his speed has shown in this game. Schmal, 2 innings ago, led off with a double, and then Purcell dropped down what appeared to be an attempted sacrifice bunt, but he beat out the throw on what looked like it was going to be an easy bang-bang play, and he somehow beat it out to first base.
And that ball is ripped past Maddox at short. So the Bobcats show up here in the 6th inning with 2 straight singles. And pretty good speed on the base pads. And now damage control is through the arm of Cody Pugh, but damage creation is through the bat of Garrett Green. As Green asks for a modicum of time here, steps back in, and we are ready to go. You know, you couldn't have asked for a more pristine day to play a game of baseball.
No chance.
This is
We thought that same thing yesterday, but we were proven wrong today.
very minimal clouds in the sky. Sun is glaring out on a beautiful Saturday afternoon. It's a great way to enjoy a weekend.
And the weekend will continue tomorrow. Game 3 of the 3-game series.
As that ball trying to stop the steal, shoots through the 5-6 gap, and Georgia College, much like they did in last night's game, the 6th inning is the breakout inning for Georgia College here, and we're still don't have anybody out.
Well, in the 6th inning yesterday, the Bobcats had a point where they saw 7 consecutive base hits, and so far 3 consecutive singles on ground balls to the outfield to begin this inning. And you're right, the 6th inning, that's kind of the inning where in any game of baseball the head coach will normally start to begin to manage the game, as he has to figure out, okay, the pitcher's tiring, now we got to figure out how you're going to play the hand in the bullpen, when a lot of it is go out and let him play for the first bit, and your pitcher gets off to a good start and goes for a while, and then he starts to tire, and then you have to figure out the bullpen, which is what Chris Howell's doing now with this mound visit. And yesterday, as well as today, the Bobcats take advantage of a tiring starter for the Jaguars, and they had the 7 straight hits yesterday in the 6th inning for a total of 5 runs, which gave them at the time a 7-2 lead. Right now they lead at 4-1 and are looking to continue to extend the lead. The Jaguars have to get their bullpen going, and we'll see how they play their hand. Pugh is normally a bullpen guy and is not used to going this game. I think this is the longest into a outing he's had all year, only his 3rd start. His first 2 starts were at the beginning of the year before he was moved to the bullpen after struggling.
It makes it easier to do this, but you're right, especially when you haven't done this in a while. After about the 3rd or 4th inning, your arm is not used to being stretched out for that long, so you begin to tire early on. Even though you have done this in the past, it's still not a regular occurrence as of right now. So his arm is still looking at around the 2, and that ball is crushed over to Wagner for the out at second. Toss over to Roberts to get the trailing runner, and they tried their best to get a double play out of it, but unsuccessful.
But what another outstanding defensive play by Wagner, a dive and a bang-bang throw to second. And I just wonder, with the runner on 1st and 2nd we had before, could he have gotten the lead runner at 3rd instead of shooting the throw to 2nd? It would have been tougher.
If he would have made that play on his feet and didn't have to dive, he probably would have. But since he had to dive and left his feet to secure the ball there, you really didn't have a shot at that because of the speed over at 3rd base with Purcell running.
Purcell, outstanding speed. There's no question. And even on a shallow pop fly to the infield, Purcell, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for it on a fly ball just that's in the shallow outfield.
It's not going to take a very deep fly ball to get him home. But a lot of that has to do as well with base running and the timing of everything. It's just the time and where the base runners are placed when the ball is fielded. Because if Purcell was even halfway to 2nd to 3rd and Wagner was getting up, he would have had a shot. But since he was about 3/4 to the bag, he had no shot. So it's all about timing when you're on defense like that. But that ball is shot through the 5-6 gap again. And like we mentioned earlier, consecutive base hits are doing in the Jags right now.
And they're hitting them to almost the same spot. The majority of the Bobcats hits have been almost the same spot.
Exploiting that gap between 3rd and short.
Now let's go back to that single that was hit by Garrett Green not too long ago. It was the 3rd of 3 straight singles to start the inning. They were runners on 1st and 2nd, Schmall and Purcell, who had already singled in the inning to lead off. Both have already come in to score.
Right.
The Jaguars, and here's how you know that Green did his homework before beginning his at-bat. The Jaguars had Maddox at shortstop holding on Schmall, who was at 2nd. Actually, yeah, correct. It was Schmall at 2nd, Purcell was at 1st. and they did not have the second baseman Robertson holding him on. And Green, who isn't hitting over 400 this season and is hitting 7th in the lineup today, shows you how good their lineup is the Bobcats lineup. He has great control over where he hits the ball, why he's hitting over 400 this year, of course. And with him noticing the alignment, he was able to hit it to where to where Robertson normally is. And because Robertson because Robertson was not holding him on at second, and Maddox, the shortstop, was holding him on, he hits it to where the shortstop normally is and takes advantage of the unusual alignment for the base hit.
That's good baseball acumen personified. Not only, see, there's a difference between being a player and having really good baseball acumen and also being a player. And the perspective of him knowing that Maddox was covering and seeing that allowed him to shift his frame of mind and shoot it into that gap in a splendid effort to counteract the Jags' defense there. But now, as they have the top of the order coming up, the Jags and head coach Chris Howell elect to bring an arm from the bullpen.
Well, similar to yesterday's game, it's almost like we've seen this movie before. And take a look. It's Chase Sloan on the mound for the Jaguars. He's a 6'2" junior from Kennesaw, Georgia. Went to Kennesaw Mountain High School. On the season for the Jaguars, he has a 3.66 ERA. That's second on the team behind yesterday's starter, Matt Meeks. This is his 10th appearance out of the bullpen.
He's turned out the lights on some very good bullpen work on crucial innings for the opposing offense, and he's turned out the lights and has done a really good job.
And if you ask me, I would say that Coach Howell could not have hand-selected a better reliever to come in this situation.
Absolutely. The experience pays off majorly here, and with the runner 180 feet away, he's kind of pitching a little bit to the side that you want to pitch on, especially outside, if you want to try to get the lead runner at second. Because if you pitch away, then more than likely, especially with their opposite field approach, and Gentry being in the left-hander's batter's box right now, you're looking to hit it over to third base, and at that rate, pitching outside makes it a heck of a lot easier for you to direct the ball to get the outs that you're looking for.
Absolutely.
So now, off 2-0 is the count, and blast him inside and low, and Gentry looked to turn on that, and all he could do was bounce it foul. So now, the 2-1 count. Jags have one man down, to their credit, but a ton of hits for the Bobcats here in the sixth. Tries to nail the outside corner, but edges outside of the outside corner. So it's a juice count at 3 balls and 2 strikes with the payoff pitch ensuing. And that ball's jolted into shallow center field. Maddox calls off everybody and makes the catch. Meanwhile, keeps the runner at second and first at bay for the Bobcats. And that was a tricky situation, too, because Bill Ordello had to come in a long way. So did Watson. But it was Maddox who had his back turned to the infield. You typically would like to see the center fielder take charge because his body is facing the runners and has a better chance of keeping them at bay. But with Maddox quickly getting the ball back in, that does not happen. And that ball's pounded into the ground. Maddox to Robertson. The 6'4" department in middle infield for the Jags is working with beautiful chemistry today, as that's the third out here in the top half of the sixth. The Jags look to spark some offense and try to climb back into this 4-run deficit. Game plan for the Jags is that Goebel walks up to the dish, is base runner, base runner, base runner. You're looking to get base runners on so you can climb back in to this deficit. As Goebel takes the first pitch, barreling down, touching the lower part of the strike zone, so it's 0 balls and 1 strike. Splitter dies a little bit there, too low. Strike connects to the corner. So Goebel has to try to battle back from a 2-strike hole. A tough pitch to take from Goebel, a slider that barely misconnects with the strike zone. And Guthrie again fires. This time, Goebel taps it foul off to third base. And that ball's launched into deep left field. But right on the warning track for Nate Small to corral the first out. Goebel gave it a ride, Robert.
Oh, he did. And the wind may have been blowing just a little in from left field, and that may have kept the ball in the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a hard-hit ball, for sure.
As you've got Harrison Moore now, the cleanup hitter for the Jags in today's ball game, standing in and takes a first pitch strike. That ball right there was overthrown as that went 54 feet and bounced into the catcher's glove. Takes a little bit off on that pitch, and the speed differential causes Moore to swing straight through that pitch and come up with no contact. So it is 2 strikes, and Moore is fighting out of an 0-2 hole and fouls it back. So a loud first out for the Jags. And make that 2 as Moore swings straight through a fastball on the corner. So now, the final hope here in the 6th inning. In a crucial spot comes via a Jim Wagner at bat. And Wagner stares at a first pitch strike. Guthrie again with his 0-1 offering. And that splitter was very effective there, causing Wagner to swing over the top. 0 balls and 2 strikes with 2 outs. If Wagner would have swung at that, he would have been at first base. But as it stands now, it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Inside out approach elevates that past third base into foul territory, where the 3rd out is created by Garrett Green, and the Jags come up empty here in the 6th. As we move along to the 7th, Jags defense looking to hold down the reins and contain this offense with a deficit still at 4. So as we get you set for the ride home, here's to take you the rest of the way home. Robert, take it away.
Thank you, Blake. Good job in the middle 3rd. And for the Bobcats, after an inning where they scored 2 runs to take a commanding 5-1 lead, they have the heart of the lineup due up and the 3 guys hitting above 400. Womack, Maddox, and Schmall. And a called strike to Womack, 0-1. Here to start the top of the 7th. 5-1 Bobcats over the Jaguars. Lake Olmsted Stadium, Augusta, Georgia. Game 2 of a 3-game Peach Belt Conference Series. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Grounded to second. Robertson charging. He fields. He throws to first. And it is in time for a very important out number 1.
Sloan with very good command starting out here in the 7th inning with a pitch that was low, and usually when you keep the ball down, you usually get that kind of result and punching it into the ground. And very quick work here to get the first out.
Absolutely. Robertson has made every play that he's had the opportunity to make in this game. Very good defensive second baseman and only a freshman. We'll see a lot of him. That's grounded to short. Maddox throws to first. That's not in time on a bang-bang play, and Matt Hicks beats out the throw by Mad Ducks for an infield single.
Maddox took too much time there to get good fundamentals, gathering the ball, working from the ground up to keep it in front of him, but he just took too much time on the throw and release, and by that time, the Bobcats had the guy on it first.
Just another bang-bang play, and the Bobcats beating it out with great speed. The Bobcats just have outstanding speed in addition to the ability to hit for average, and the speed is a big reason why they have high averages as well. They are able to beat out throws like that on bang-bang hard-hit balls. And Maddox runs with the pitch, and Schmall fouls one away. No balls and one strike on Nate Schmall. Schmall will be followed by the speedy catcher, Brandon Purcell. This is a very experienced Bobcat ball club when you look at some of these players. Garrett Green, who's hitting above 400 this season, he's a redshirt junior. Maddox is a senior. And Womack also a redshirt junior, and Schmall, who's up right now, is also a senior. So there's a lot of experience, which helps.
And that's going to take them far into the playoffs when we get to that point. And there's nothing like experience in a high-pressure game such as when you get to playoff time and when you get into the tournament. And that's going to bode extremely well for these guys, especially parlaying advice down to the younger guys, freshmen and sophomores, in a situation like that, because at this level, that will be their first or second time going through it.
Absolutely. Schmall has grounded into double play. He has singled and doubled and scored a pair of runs in this game. It's in the air to right field. Harrison Moore going back. Moore makes the catch. And having to go back to first, tagging up is Maddox. 2 gone here in the 7th inning.
Goodness gracious, Moore makes backpedaling look easy. It's not easy at all to catch a ball when your balance is backward on your balls of your feet and then having to redirect your weight to the front. It's not easy at all, and then he just makes it look effortlessly out and right.
Well, you got to keep your balance, watch where you're going, if you're back against the wall, literally, and you got to keep your eye on the ball to see it to your glove, and Moore's able to do that on what was a routine fly ball, but he was playing quite a ways in right field, and that's lined into right field. That's going to fall in front of Moore for a base hit. So 2 on and 2 outs. And that's going to bring up Garrett Green, who we talked about earlier. He's 1 for 3 with a pair of flyouts and a single.
And if you are the Jags right now, with 2 outs on the board, try to kind of bust him inside and see if you can get a ground ball.
That's grounded to short. Maddox throws to second for the easy out, and that ends the inning as the Bobcats strand 2, score 0 runs. As we've reached the 7th inning stretch here at the Lake, 5-1 is the score in favor of the Bobcats over the Jaguars. We'll be back. Welcome back here to the lake. Jaguars will come to bat here in the bottom of the 7th. They trail at 5-1. They're still out there playing hard, trying to stay in this game and give themselves a fighting chance. They have done so far. They're still trailed by 4 runs. And the first pitch to Timothy Gray is in there for a called strike. 0-1.
It's a good idea to take on the first pitch, though, to try to make Guthrie throw a strike. He's been doing a beautiful job of it, and then just laces in a curveball right there for the second one.
0-2 the count to Timothy Gray. That's going to be grounded up the middle. That's going to be a leadoff base hit for Timothy Gray, and boy, do the Jaguars need one of those to start.
And the thing that made that happen, too, is Guthrie's finish. He falls off the mound to the first base side, and Gray shoots it back up the mound, sliding a little bit to the third base side, so it was hard for Guthrie to reach across his body to try to knock that ball down. Good exploitation there by Gray to get the leadoff single.
Gray will be followed by Brent Alford, and then Patrick Watson barring a double play ball. Called strike 1 on the first pitch to Alford, 0-1. Alford is 0-2 in the day. Gray's single just a moment ago, that was his first hit of the night. The Jaguars as a team with 7 hits in this game. The 0-1 misses a ball and a strike.
And you can see they're itching for more and just trying to piece together a productive inning.
The 1-1 is fouled away. 1-2. As we hear a train whistle sounding off nearby. The 1-2 misses to Alford. 2 balls and 2 strikes. After this series wraps up tomorrow afternoon, Jaguars hit the road on Wednesday, go to Orangeburg, South Carolina, take on Claflin University, and then return home to the lake for the season finale, a 3-game series against Lynn University. Lynn College in Boca Raton, Florida, coming to the lake. Next weekend, they'll play Game 1 Friday night at 6 p.m. and a doubleheader to wrap up the season on Saturday the 28th. 1 week from today, Game 1 of that doubleheader beginning at 1 Eastern Time, with Game 2 approximately 30 minutes after the conclusion of Game 1. Alford battles back and draws a walk, and that advances Gray to second. It's 2 on with 1 out. 2 on with nobody outs, correction. And here's Patrick Watson. Jaguars need to get something out of this situation here.
Walk or a base hit, anything to continue the carousel of base running for the Jags. You've got a threat here. You want to be able to capitalize on this with nobody out and at least
Absolutely.
get 1, possibly 2 here.
At least feel like you're slowly chipping away. And it really begins now, although you always say it begins now when you're down. But especially here.
Exactly, and the thing is here, you've got 9 outs to work with, so it's not like you're down to your final 3 and having to do this in 1 inning or 1 fell swoop. You still have time to chip away at this lead, and with you only being down by 4, it was a lot better than yesterday's ball game at this point in the game right now. So that's a positive note as well, knowing that you have runners on base that can cut this lead down. Now it's just down to fundamentally executing and getting those runs across for the Jags, and they're in good shape with the bats they got coming up.
Absolutely. After Watson, barring a triple play, it'll be Trent Maddox. That is the end of the day for Trevor Guthrie. He exits after an outstanding performance, and I did talk pregame as well as when this game began, Blake, how he has struggled this season, Guthrie, but he does do better on the road, and that showed here today as he goes 6+, allows only 1 run off of 7 hits. What a performance by Guthrie here in this one. He's responsible for the runners on first and second, however, so statistically, his night is still not yet over. Still checking to see who the new pitcher is. We'll let you know as soon as we can there. So Trent Maddox will bat after Watson, as I mentioned, barring a triple play ball. After that, we'll flip the lineup card, and we'll be back to the top of the Jaguars lineup with Devin Billardello, who is 3 for 3 in this game, reaching base with a trio of singles in this game. However, he has been stranded on 2 of those 3 instances, and the third time he was thrown out at home trying to go from third to home on the double by Robertson. Had the right idea, it just didn't work out for him.
And pending what happens with Watson, you couldn't have asked for a better 1-2 punch in this situation, because as we've mentioned before, and I think we mentioned a little bit last night, in these type of situations, when you've got runners on and you also kind of have a little bit of pressure on you to produce in these types of games, Maddox has always been a tough contender at the plate and has delivered in several of these occasions. So he is a great person to have on deck. And then, as we mentioned with Billardello and his capabilities with the aluminum bat in his hand, it's always a fun time watching him as well.
Well, absolutely. We'll see what the Jaguars are able to do against what they'll be facing the rest of this game in the Bobcats bullpen. The Bobcats bullpen was lights out last night, coming into the game in a similar spot in the 7th inning of yesterday's game as well. Like I said, I was saying this in the top of the 6th inning when the Bobcats were starting to blow this open, and same thing here tonight. Basically, this game is so far a replay of yesterday, although the Jaguars hope to keep it close and chip away, unlike the way it went from this point on yesterday.
And the thing is, controlled swings if you're the Jaguars. You don't want to overswing and try to get 3 runs on one swing. If you run into one, great. But controlled swings and not trying to do too much will produce the maximum amount of opportunities
Absolutely.
to produce runs in these type of scenarios.
And that's crucial. And you'd have to wonder, Watson showed bunt on his first pitch he saw. He ended up pulling back for a ball, so the count is 1-0. You don't want to, you can't afford a productive out if you want to try and get the runners over here when you're down 4 in the 7th inning. But that doesn't mean if you're Watson that you don't want to try and play with the head of the infield of the Bobcats. He does get the bunt down, and throw to first is high, and Watson is safe, and the bases are loaded with nobody out. So it works out for the Jaguars, even though you wouldn't want to be able to afford to, I mean, you can't afford in this situation, as I said, to get a productive out. But it works out for the Jaguars, as I mentioned before. It paid off for Watson as he was probably trying to play with the heads of the infield of the Bobcats. It paid off there.
That's almost like a Lester effect coming into real life. And I'm mentioning the Lester effect because John Lester does not like throwing over to first base, even though he's a left-hander. That time, the bunt attempt, the easiest play on the diamond, you get a little bit rattled with all the chaos on the mound, and he overthrows it to the simplest position on the diamond. Inadvertently, a situational effect of the Lester effect, like we mentioned, but hey, for the Bobcats, you still have not allowed a run. So
Nope.
Even though the bases are loaded, you still have the opportunity to get out of this. For the Jags, it's a huge break in a sense that now you can do some serious damage with a single or a double.
Absolutely, and you know, even if you show bunt but end up not bunting, that will really mess with the minds of the defense because they'll wonder, is he going to bunt, is he not? And it'll affect how they prepare. And then you can catch him off guard with a sudden surprise.
Oh, absolutely, and not only that, especially with the infield drawn in, if you pull back and then shoot it over their heads, well, that's 2 runs right off the bat for the Jags. Because look at where the right fielder and left fielder are playing. They're playing deep in their respective positions out in the outfield.
So a shallow bloop single. You're right. 2 runs with the speed of Gray and Alford.
Exactly.
The center and left fielders, Schmal and Maddox, for the Bobcats, not nearly as deep where they're playing now. That's fouled away. Hard hit foul ball chopper into the Jaguars bullpen. down the left field line. That was close to cutting the deficit in half.
Mm-hmm. You would just like for that ball to sneak inside that baseline like the Bobcats have done to the Jags a time or two this game.
You absolutely would. 2-2 is fouled back to the screen.
If you're Maddox here, you cannot take anything close.
Not with 2 strikes. And 2 strikes is what he has now.
Even more so, it's imperative with the situation that he's in.
Grounded to short. They throw to third for the easy force play, and they get the out. But the Jaguars manufacture home run with the ABCs. They score Gray from third, and out at third is Alford. And I'm sure the Jaguars will happily take a run. And Watson advances to second, and on the fielder's choice, Maddox gets to first.
3 is a lot better than 4.
Absolutely. It's the difference between a save situation and a non-save situation if you're the Bobcats bullpen. It's that big. And the pitch misses for a ball. 1-0 on Devin Billardello.
And it also means if Devin Billardello can stay in his game and not try to crank a home run here, the Jags are in striking distance.
A home run would tie it, by the way.
It would, but you don't want to overswing and strike out. So
no, absolutely not.
You want to make sure you get 1 or 2 runs here to try to get yourself back into it, and then utilize your speed on the base pass to bring home the game-tying run or the 4th run if you're the Jags. That way, it's best utilized in the scenario that you're in to be the most productive at the plate.
And if you want to be able to tie the game with 1 swing, the 1-1 pitch is fouled back to the screen, 1-2 on Billardello.
Right.
The guy you'd want to have up in that situation would be the designated hitter, Zach Goebel. He's in the hole, however.
Right.
So you'll have to wait a little bit before we are able to get him up to the plate. 2 on, 1 out. 3-run game here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Clouds are starting to come into play here at the lake. Still a beautiful, perfect day for baseball. The 1-2 pitch misses for a ball. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Billardello, batting for the 4th time today. And if history repeats itself, he's going to get on safely and make something happen.
That is an extremely tough pitch to take.
And Billardello also here with 2 strikes. The 2-2 swung on in the air to right field, and that's down for a base hit. And they're going to hold Watson at third, and the bases are loaded with 1 out. For the 2nd time this inning, the bases are loaded.
He comes back with some of the best vision I've seen this year from the Jags, fighting off 2 or 3 pitches that were pitcher's pitches, and then on the last one, come in almost to his body, fights it off and waves at it like a lightsaber, fights it off and punches it into right field. A phenomenal piece of hitting there by Devin Billardello, and the Jags have some serious Crisco on this fire. Now, it'll be up to Robertson to get the job done, but man, oh man, what a turn of events.
Man, oh man, and the Jaguars, they have Mason Robertson up now. He's 1 for 3, a pair of strikeouts, but he did double his last time up. And look who's on deck, Blake. It's Zach Goebel, the designated hitter.
This is coming with 1 out. So, I mean, if you are the Bobcats, you want to try to get a ground ball, but yeah, you don't want to face Goebel in this type of scenario. So
no, and if you're the Jaguars, a strikeout's better than a double play.
Absolutely.
And the pitch to Robertson misses for a ball, 1-0. That just barely missed inside.
And the thing is, too, you don't even have to in this scenario take the bat off the shoulder to score a run.
Absolutely not. The 1-0 pitch. That's in the air to right center field. And that's down for a hit. Watson on his way home. He scores. Everybody's safe. Runners, just like last at bat, for the second at bat in a row, on a single, the runners advance 90 feet, and it's 5-3.
It's interesting how positioning affects the game of baseball. We touched on it earlier this inning, how the right fielder was playing so deep to keep doubles, anything over his head in the field of play. So what are the Jags doing? Fighting off pitches, shortening up on their swings, and exploiting the field in front of the right fielder Michael Warren to get the base hits to slowly climb back into this game. That is excellent baseball strategy, noticing that and then redirecting your swings and exploiting the grass that the outfield is giving you.
And we'll have the infield in as the bullpen for the Bobcats so far has struggled. One of the 2 runs that has scored this inning, the run scored by Timothy Gray, that's going to be charged to Guthrie. But only that run charged to Guthrie, so Guthrie's final totals are 2 runs off of 7 hits. As he left the game having given up 1 run, but was responsible for a pair of runners, and one of them has scored. The other runner that he was responsible for was Brent Alford, who was thrown out on a force play at third base. So statistically, his night is over. Here's Zach Goebel. Goebel, a former conference player of the week in the Peach Belt Conference and a regional player of the week, coming up to bat with the Jaguars trailing by 2 in the bottom of the 7th and the bases loaded with 1 out. What a spot for him. He is 0 for 3 in this game, a pair of flyouts, and he has reached on a fielder's choice. And if you're the defense of the Bobcats, you don't want to worry about the runner on third at this point. Just try and play normal double play depth in this situation. Count a ball and no strikes on Goebel as he looks at a pitch in the dirt.
And knowing that, and knowing the situation, just like you saw there, for Goebel up at the dish, it's discipline because you know
Absolutely.
The majority of these pitchers are coming in low to try to induce a ground ball here. So if you lay those off, get yourself into a hitter's count, you'll see some elevated pitches that you can drive.
Called strike on Goebel, 1-1. And the 1-1 misses. 2 balls and a strike on Goebel. You want to be careful if you're at the plate. Try not to swing at this point in the 2-1 count, unless it's borderline at the very least.
Exactly. They do. Now they don't.
3-1.
They don't have a waste pitch at their disposal. So now the pressure, and Goebel has to realize this, the pressure now is completely on the pitcher at this point, not to be too perfect as to pitch another ball. So it's completely on him. Now you may see a pitch where you can do your darndest to and execute for more runs for the Jags.
A 3-1 pitch, line down the right field line. Foul. Boy, was that close to tying this game.
Just a little too far behind that pitch. If he would have come up a little bit more through the zone a little bit quicker, he'd have had the line to his advantage, and boy, oh boy, would that would have completely changed the complexion of this game, and arguably the lead the Jags would have had.
Absolutely.
With Robertson at first base with pretty good speed.
And the 3-2 pitch, high chopper left side. Everybody's safe. 1-run game. And now that it is a 1-run game, and that moves the tying run to third base in the go-ahead run in scoring position with less than 2 outs. That, if you're the Bobcats, it's the same situation as the last several at-bats with the bases loaded 1 out.
Well, here's the thing. If you don't think there's pressure on the Bobcat defense, you are fooling yourself. Because at this juncture,
Absolutely.
you almost have to play pristinely perfect defense. And it's hard enough as it is to play fundamentally sound defense in a non-pressure cooker situation. But when it's this tight and you can feel the intensity of every single pitch, every single motion on the mound, it amplifies the intensity so much to where the slightest movement and the slightest little thing can, in your mind, going through it, mess you up. And you see that ball bobbled by Gentry, messed him up, and that cost them a run for the Jags.
The 0-1 fouled back to the screen. 0-2 on Harrison Moore. And yeah, the inning totally changes just because it's a one-run game instead of a two-run game as before. But the Jaguars just focusing on just moving the runners 90 feet basically every at-bat in this inning. No balls, 2 strikes on Harrison Moore, the cleanup hitter. The pitch. Swing and a miss, and down on strikes goes Moore. That's out number 2, and what a big strikeout that is. And that brings up Jim Wagner, the 9th Jaguar to come to the plate in this game. But he's definitely another guy that you'd want up in a situation like this. Senior veteran who knows what kind of pitches he can hit. He's seen it all. Talked about that in previous games here.
And it also takes Gentry off the hook as well, because this inning is still alive because of that error.
Snap throw to second. Not in time. The pitch is a ball, 1 ball, no strikes on Wagner.
Just as we say that, a solid play from Gentry, keeping that ball in front of him and not allowing that thrown ball from Purcell to venture into center field, because the game would have been tied.
Bases loaded, 2 outs, 1-run game in the bottom of the 7th. And the Jaguars' bullpen is now empty. And you'd have to think that this might come to the Jaguars' advantage as far as their bullpen goes, as far as the top of the 8th inning when we get there. Swing and a miss by Wagner, 1-1.
I hope you can feel the intensity at home that's in this stadium right now. It is, folks are sitting on pins and needles, hoping and watching with bated breath here to see what happens.
The error on the bunt by Watson is going to loom large if you're the Bobcats, regardless. Swing and a miss on the 1-1, 1-2 on Wagner.
And if the Bobcats do get out of this inning for the Jags, don't kill yourself over this. You still have 2 innings to go here, so you're definitely not down and out. All it takes is an inning like this or a base runner to tie this ball game up, and you're in good shape. So don't get too down if this doesn't work out, because you still have 6 outs to play with.
And the Jaguars have done what they wanted to do this inning already and get a little bit closer, but there's still a lot of work they can do this inning. A ball and 2 strikes on Wagner. It's been a good at-bat already for him. And now here's the 1-2 pitch, and that's fouled away again. Making the Bobcats work is Wagner. Bobcats in the top of the 8th will have Warren, Young, and Gentry due up. Those are the 8, 9, and 1 hitters in their lineup.
Which means if you get 1, 2, 3, you're not dealing with the heart of the order until the 9th.
That is correct. The 1-2. Chopper back to the mound. And Logan Howard, the pitcher, wins the race to the bag. He takes it to the bag himself as nobody was covering, and he gets there in time, and that ends the inning. The Jaguars do leave the bases loaded, but not before they score 3 runs, and we got a ball game. It's a 1-run game as we go to the 8th. We'll be back. And we welcome you back here to the lake. It's the top of the 8th inning. It will be Michael Warren leading it off for the Bobcats, who lead the Jaguars 5-4. The Bobcats appeared to be pulling away in this game in the 6th inning when they scored a couple runs to take a 5-1 lead, just like they did in the 6th inning of yesterday's game. But the Jaguars said, "I don't think so," scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 7th to make it a ball game. It's 5-4 Bobcats here in the 8th. Pitches a ball, 1 ball and no strikes on Michael Warren. He's going to be followed by Cassius Young, and then the top of the order in Cal Gentry. The 1-0 misses 2 balls and no strikes. And the 2-0 misses 3 balls and no strikes. Sloan, who pitched a scoreless 7th inning in relief, struggling to find the strike zone here at the beginning of the 8th inning. Bullpen remains busy. He did have a lot of rest between innings, however, with the Jaguars seeing 9 hitters come into the plate and scoring 3 runs. And the 3-0 pitch is a called strike on the inside corner. Warren was taking all the way on 3-0. Count now 3-1. Tomorrow's series finale, a 1 o'clock Eastern time start time. And the 3-1 called strike, 3-2.
Good capture of the strike zone there from both Alford and still looks like Sloan's out there, so a good battery work from those two.
The 3-2 pitch, and that's going to be grounded to short. Maddox fields it. Maddox throws to first. That's in time for out number 1.
Second baseman number 4, Cassius.
And it's going to bring up the number 9 hitter, Cassius Young. 1 for 3 in this game, a single his most recent time up. Before that, he had grounded out a pair of times. And now the pitch to Young. Chopper to third. Backhanded by Wagner. Throw across the diamond in time. And boy, he just continues to make plays like that look easy.
He's acclimating very well all year long to his third base surroundings, and that right there was a surefire way to show off that cannon.
And here's Cal Gentry. Gentry in this game is 1 for 3 with a walk, a single, and a run scored. Called strike, 0-1.
This is just what the doctor ordered for the Jags. Quickly 2 down and trying to retire the side.
Well, absolutely. And the 0-1, a called strike. 0-2. Jaguars need to keep the momentum on their side and stay within striking distance after the big bottom of the 7th. No balls and 2 strikes. Here's the pitch, and that misses for a ball. 1-2. If Gentry can reach base safely, he will extend the inning for Miller, who waits on deck. And the 1-2, swing and a miss! On a curveball outside, down on strikes goes Gentry, and down in the inning go the Bobcats. We go to the bottom of the 8th. The Jaguars trail by 1, coming to bat. We'll be back. We are back here at the lake. It's the bottom of the 8th inning. The Jaguars trail by 1 coming to bat. They'll have Timothy Gray leading off. He'll be followed by Brent Alford and Patrick Watson. If any of them reach, it'll be Trent Maddox. Gray led off last inning, an inning in which the Jaguars batted around with a single. And he came in to score the first of 3 runs that inning. And what a big inning it was for the Jaguars. A called strike on Gray. 0-1.
And if you're the Bobcats, you're right back to square one. Just execute the pitches that you're throwing out. You don't let the momentum of this game affect you, because at the top of all this, you're still in control by 1. So you don't want to let the pressure get to you. Just continue to pitch your style of game and be effective.
The 1-1 grounder through the hole on the left side, a base hit. Gray is on with a single to lead off the 2nd consecutive inning. And that's going to bring up Brent Alford. Gray represents the tying run. Alford coming to the plate as the go-ahead run representative. Alford will be followed by Patrick Watson, whose spot is due up next. Watson, however, has returned to the dugout from the on-deck circle, and now he's coming back out. He was just changing bats, it looks like.
Just a phenomenal piece of hitting there by Gray.
Alford shows bunt. He gets it down. It's a beautiful bunt, and that is Miller stepping on first base, but it is a productive out as the Jaguars get the tying run to scoring position. And the reason that was such a beautiful bunt is because the Bobcats had Garrett Green playing way in at third base, almost to the batter's box, anticipating the bunt. Alford recognized that, and he hit that the opposite way to first base. And that potentially avoided a double play.
Another great example of why baseball acumen is so important in this game.
Called strike on Patrick Watson, 0-1. Watson last inning reached on the big throwing error on an attempted sacrifice bunt, which really kick-started the rally. And he's now behind the count here, 0-2. I do not believe he will be bunting here, however. But it was really that sacrifice bunt that ended up being an error that really changed the momentum and changed the complexion of this game. And the count is a ball and 2 strikes as Watson pulls back, avoids chasing ball 1, which would have been a strikeout in the 2nd out of the inning. He's able to stay alive by pulling back. Count 1-2.
Well, not only that, but it's too crucial of an at-bat right now to even think about a bunt scenario because...
Oh, absolutely. It's up the middle, a base hit! To third, Gray. They're waving him around. Here's the throw home. Gray is safe at the plate. He avoided the tag, and we're tied at 5.
A phenomenal piece of base running there by Gray. Realizing that Purcell was playing a little bit off the line and behind home plate. So what does Gray do? Simple. He realizes he's playing behind the plate, slides to the inside of home plate and stretches his hand across the plate that's in front in fair territory. A phenomenal piece of base running there to execute the game-tying run for Augusta. Wow.
And the go-ahead run in Watson on the throw home advances to second base. And here's Trent Maddox, who reached on a fielder's choice his last time up and scored the 3rd of 3 runs that the Jaguars scored an inning ago.
And one more thing, if that would have been a normal slide, Gray would have been out. But since he slid to the inside of home plate in the field of play, he scored safely. What a phenomenal piece of base running by Timothy Gray.
Absolutely phenomenal. And the head coach of the Bobcats, Jason Eller, did not agree with the call. He thought that Gray should have been tagged out. Yes, the ball was there ahead of Gray, ahead of the runner, but it's not a force play. And Gray was able to avoid the tag. Obviously, Eller thought that the tag was applied, but it wasn't.
Well, and the bad part for the Bobcats is the fact that the home plate umpire was positioned right in the line of sight for the Bobcats. So it was a kind of a little bit of a skewed view there for head coach Eller and Georgia College.
Here's Trent Maddox. Maddox 0 for 3 in this game. Reached twice on a fielder's choice and an error, and he scored a run, and he has flown out. Here's the pitch. Called strike. 0-1.
And in all this chaos, you forget that the Bobcats do have an out on the board.
That was a productive out by the Jaguars as a result of Alfred's sacrificed bunt, and that has really paid off.
Absolutely. ABC baseball at its core is the best way to produce runs on a baseball diamond. I know you talk about launching, I know you talk about home runs and how a shot like that can send chills up and down the defense and up and down a pitcher's spine, but constant pressure like the Jags have produced last half inning and this inning is the best way to produce runs.
Swing and a miss, and Maddox is down on strikes for the second out. Now back to the top of the order. Here's Devin Billardello. Billardello in this game is 4 for 4 with 4 singles. See if he can continue his magic at the plate here with 2 outs and the go-ahead run on third base. Here's the pitch. Swung on, foul.
And you notice too, we talked about how right field was playing out. Look at how shallow he's playing right now in right field.
The outfield of the Bobcats is way in right and center field in case Billardello hits it the opposite way. He is a lefty.
And that's not to say that you should hulk up and just try to cream a home run, but you want to hulk up enough seeing that that's out there to at least have what they call warning track power or doubles alley power and hit it over their heads.
And that's fouled back to the screen, 1-2. And the 1-2 pitch, swung on, that's up the middle, fielded at second, the throw to first, not in time, everybody's safe. Watson goes to third, runners at the corners. And the inning continues for Mason Robertson. And we'll see how they rule that as the throw pulled Miller off the bag.
Well, Young released that kind of cattywampus as he released it sidearm, but he released it sooner than his regular release point, and it sailed on him. And the Jags now, with runners on the corners here, have a premier threat to advance ahead and lead by 1.
And it is a base hit, so Billardello is 5 for 5 with 5 singles. Robertson shows bunt, pulls back. It's a ball, 1-0.
Have yourself a day, Devin Billardello. That's going to shoot that average up big time.
It absolutely will. It's hard enough to go 2 for 4 in a game, let alone 5 for 5. 2 for 4 is Mason Robertson, a double, a single, a pair of strikeouts.
And if you notice, just looking around the stadium, there's not a pair of eyes off this game right now.
Absolutely not.
They're all locked and loaded in on what is happening on the diamond. That is a beautiful sight to see.
Time is called, and we're going to see a pitching change here, it looks like, as the struggles for the Bobcats bullpen has continued in this game. And no, it's just a regular mound visit. They're just talking things over, it so appears. But with the struggles of the Bobcats bullpen, they're stuck with their bullpen the rest of the game.
Oh, absolutely. And some may argue they took Guthrie out too soon, but the thing about it is you have some really good bullpen arms, and you have some very strong ERAs that has been in your favor, like we saw last night with K-Mac. It's just the Jags today have come to the plate last inning and this inning with a never say die attitude, and it's like you're literally going to have to explode the ball past me to let it defeat me. And they have brought out the best out of ABC baseball and the best hits when they've needed it to climb back into this ball game and deadlock the score at 5-all.
Ball and a strike to Robertson. The 1-1 pitch misses.
And
Two balls and a strike.
And another facet to all of this is, and this is why ABC baseball is so beautiful to watch, because in all the chaos, you see errors, you see miscommunication, you see errant
That
throws,
you do.
and stuff like that. And it's so fundamentally.
The 2-1. Line through the hole. A base hit for Mason Robertson. Watson scores from third, and the hit and run succeeds. Bill Ardello advances to third, and the Jaguars take the lead.
Fundamentals Baseball 101. You see the hit and run. You saw the second baseman kind of go towards second. Mason Robertson explodes through with that hole over on the left side, the 4-3 hole the Jags exploit this time around, and completely turn the complexion of this game on its face and turn it upside down, as the Jags now have a 1-run advantage. Absolutely phenomenal piece of hitting there by Mason Robertson.
And here's Zach Goebel. He swings at the first pitch. That's down the right field line, and that's going to land foul. 0-1 to Goebel, and Goebel singled his last time up back in the 7th, and he's also a guy you'd want up in situations that we've seen this inning. And we'll see what the Jaguars do with their pitching situation in the 9th. And yes, Sloan has been outstanding in relief in innings 7 and 8, pitching a pair of shutout innings. But would you have him back out in the 9th? We'll see. High chopper to short, throw over to first. That's in time. A little high throw, but it was true and in time, and that ends the inning. But not before the Jaguars score 2, Blake, and take the lead 6-5. We go to the 9th here at the Lake. We'll be back. Welcome back here to the lake. It's the top of the 9th inning, the Jaguars with a 6-5 lead, and we have some defensive changes. The designated hitter, Zach Goebel, has now entered the game defensively to pitch the 9th inning to try and close this thing out. And other defensive changes, Ty Hobbs is in the game at first base, and Timothy Gray has moved from first to third, and moving from third to shortstop does Jim Wagner. So Trent Maddox is done for the day.
Just imagine the pressure that is on Goebel right
Absolutely.
now. Coming in with the final 3 outs, which is the hardest outs to get in a one-run game that you lead where you've been trailing all game long.
And that's the 1-0 pitch is in the air to deep left field. That's off the wall. And Watson struggles with it, and that's an easy leadoff double for Miller, and that may have just missed being a tying home run. And Goebel, as the designated hitter in this game, did not get a chance to warm up in the bullpen. And we'll see how that plays into effect with the heart of this very good lineup of the Bobcats coming up. And Wesley Womack, the designated hitter.
Especially against going into the heart of the lineup. He just elevated a pitch too much that time, and it was spanked out the left.
It absolutely was, and it may have hit one of the signs, which may have prevented it from going over the fence. I'm not entirely sure, however. And he shows bunt. He gets it down. Goebel fields it, throws to first in time. A productive out for the Bobcats as they get the sacrifice bunt to work to perfection. But if you're the Jaguars, I'm sure you'll be glad for there to be one out here in this situation, and now you would have to bring your infield in with the tying run at third.
Right.
And that's going to bring up Logan Maddox.
The bright side, if you're the Jags here, if the ball sneaks through, there's only one run that can score, and that's a tying run.
That is true.
If it doesn't, then you can look to cut the runner off from third going to home. But if there's a circumstance where it happens, one run can only come across.
Absolutely. And the first pitch is a called strike on the outside corner, 0-1. If you're the Jaguars, you want to focus on the out at home and don't even worry about a forced play at first in a situation like this.
Yeah. If you can, though, however, looking back in third or first and get the out.
Swing and a miss on the 0-1, 0-2 on Maddox. A nasty pitch by Goebel. Blew it right by him.
You would normally in a situation like this say high cheese, challenge him upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
But with the offense like this and the way he's been pitching here, be more likely to say something low and off speed. It's especially seeing as how the defense, again, play to the strength of the defense and where they're positioned on the infield. Anything low is going to induce a ground ball. And at that point, you give your infield more of a chance to make a play on it.
The 0-2. That misses for a ball and a good hustle. What outstanding hustling by Alford to chase after that ball and prevent Miller from scoring from third on the wild pitch.
That's why he's a veteran catcher. The ability to track the ball, look the runner back, stop, speed up, track the ball, look the runner back, halt, then speed up to get to the baseball, kept the runner at third from shooting across home. Excellent catching ability there by Alford to not let that run come in from third.
This game is not for the faint of heart, Blake.
May have to get an AKG in here to check the heart rates of us, because this is absolutely phenomenal the way this game is shaping up.
Absolutely. The 1-2 misses 2 balls and 2 strikes. Infield still in. And the 2-2 pitch. Taken for a called strike 3. 2 outs.
In a situation like that, anything close, you want to hack at. And even though you think it may be 3 inches outside, you still want to hack at it to protect yourself at the plate. A huge strikeout for Goebel right here with only one more out to get.
Absolutely, and here is Nate Schmall, who has reached twice on a single and a double and has scored a pair of runs in this game. He's 2 for 4. He's also grounded into double play and flown out. He represents the go-ahead run here with 2 outs and a runner tying run on third. And that's in the air to right field. Harrison Moore is going to give chase. He's back. He's there. And he makes the catch! And that's the game. The Jaguars win it. Come from behind, 6-5 over the first place Georgia College Bobcats.
Where to begin? Holy mackerel. We have seen an absolutely electric game. Jags come back down from 4 runs essentially, score 6, and take this game by a run. It has been impeccable in every shape, form, or fashion what we have seen here today, and is a good setup for the rubber match tomorrow.
It absolutely is. We're going to take a quick break, Blake, and when we come back, we're going to wrap this up in what was an outstanding game and a thrilling win for the Jaguars. And boy, they are celebrating out in the infield here with enthusiastic high fives. We'll be back. Welcome you back here to Lake Olmsted Stadium. The Jaguars with a thrilling come-from-behind victory to defeat the first-place Georgia College Bobcats, who went into this game on a 5-game win streak. That streak is now over, 6-5. Jaguars with the win over the Bobcats. We are getting ready here at the lake to do a special post-game ceremony. This was the Cancer Awareness Day here at Lake Olmsted Stadium, and Jaguars are going to do a little recognition for how much money they've raised to help stop this terrible disease here, and it's part of the post-game festivities, and it's a good celebration as well for the come from behind win.
Absolutely, and you want to talk about sending shockwaves through a team and never say die attitude. This is the #1 ranked team in the Peach Belt Conference, coming through with not even 10 losses on the season all year long, and for the Jags to fight with every inch of their life to spring back out and take the victory in this game with fundamentally sound ABC baseball, doing all the small things right and everything going their way, especially in the 7th and 8th innings. What a tale of a baseball game. We were here to witness one for the ages here today.
Absolutely, and the first 6.5 innings were basically a replay of yesterday's game. And then the Jaguars turned things around after that. They're like, I don't think so. And they took it right back to the Braves. Or not to the Braves, to the Bobcats, I should say. Scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 7th to make it 5-4. And then 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning to make it 6-5 and take the lead. We're going to take a quick break, and we're going to do a little player interview after this here on the Augusta University Athletics Network on YouTube. We'll be back. Yeah. Welcome you back here once again to the lake. I'm Robert Ambrose, and I'm joined by the star of today's game for the Jaguars, Timothy Gray. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. So the Jaguars come from behind, win in thrilling fashion, 6-5 today over the Bobcats. And Timothy, so in this game, you came up to lead off the bottom of the 7th. You guys were trailing 5-1. You single to come in to score, and then you do the same thing again in the 8th.
Yes.
So what's the team focus during that stretch of the game? Describe that.
Just trying to get runners on base, stay inside the ball, and drive it the other way to get people on and move them around.
And during the time in the 7th inning, after you were able to do that, at what point did you realize, hey, I could do the same thing again in the 8th, an inning later?
I don't know. I just got up there and kept my hands inside and tried not to do too much and just tried to get a base hit.
And talk about just how important the defense has been for you guys in this game. You guys made several outstanding plays today, and you had a big alignment change in the 9th inning, and it paid off for you guys today as well.
Yeah, we had a bunch of clutch double plays to help us get out of innings and a bunch of great catches by the outfielders, so that helped a lot.
And also in today's game, it was the big promotion with the Cancer Awareness Day, and just how much did that really help you guys rally around and think about battling a good cause and battling a terrible disease, as well as then coming out, responding, and getting a win here today as well? Talk about
it
that.
Helped a lot. It felt good to be able to do something for somebody else and recognize others and try to raise awareness for others, and luckily we played a good game.
Georgia College coming into this game on a 5-game win streak in first place in the division. How does it feel to beat a first-place team and snap their win streak today?
It feels good because we've had unlucky seasons, so it feels good to beat the best.
Sounds great. And moving forward, how much of a confidence booster does it give you for the last week of this season, as well as going forward and beyond? You have tomorrow and then all the games next week moving forward.
it brings a lot of confidence because we know we can do it. We just got to go out and do it.
All right. Sounds good. Timothy, thank you very much for your time. Great game today. Congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
And best of luck tomorrow. And once again, as we wrap things up here at the lake, we'll take a quick break, and we'll give you a updated look at the standings as well as other games from around the league, let you know what else has gone on as we wrap things up here at the lake. We'll be back. Thank you, Timothy.
Thank you. Is that good?
Welcome back here to the lake. As we wrap things up, we wrap up a Jaguar victory. It's their first conference victory in 3 weeks, and their first conference home victory of the month of April. And Blake, for a first, it was done in dramatic fashion.
Speechless. Just absolutely speechless. That was incredible to watch all the way around. First of all, Bobcats jump out to a 5-1 lead. You're thinking, okay, you're going to be at the rate that was going then. You're like, okay, you can come back into this game. We were getting into the 7th inning, and then all of a sudden, everything just clicked. The patience at the plate was very apparent, evident. You had guys, as Timothy Gray, we just interviewed, getting on base, walking, playing small ball. ABC baseball, as we mentioned in the broadcast, is one of the best ways to produce runs. And you saw it throughout the 7th inning and 8th inning. And the thing about it, you hear his interview, and even when they were down by 4, you get the sense that they were never out of it. They have a never-say-die attitude about this team that came through in a major league way today.
Absolutely didn't. They absolutely did have the never-say-die attitude, and it showed and paid off here today as well. And now let's take a quick look at other scores and what's going on around the Peach Belt Conference here today. So another game that has gone final. Francis Marion has defeated Georgia Southwestern 11-8, a high-scoring affair there. That's game 1 of their doubleheader. They are currently in the top of the 2nd inning of game 2 of that doubleheader. Francis Marion with a 2-0 lead there. And in other action, Young Harris and a lot of other high-scoring games here. Young Harris with an 11-6 lead over Columbus State. There in the bottom of the 8th, UNC Pembroke with a trailing Flagler 3-2 in the bottom of the 7th. And at the top of the 9th inning between North Georgia and Winston-Salem State. Winston-Salem State with a 6-1 lead. That game is an out-of-conference matchup for North Georgia. And later tonight, the Pacers of UNC Aiken will host Lander. And once again, final score here at the lake, 6-5. The Jaguars with the come-from-behind victory over the Bobcats. Game 3 of a 3-game series. It is going to be a rubber matchup as the teams have split the first 2 games. That'll be tomorrow, a 1 o'clock Eastern Time first pitch right here at Lake Olmsted Stadium. We will bring that game and all the action tomorrow right here for you on the Augusta University Athletics Network on YouTube. Once again, the final score here tonight in Game 2 of a 3-game series. The Jaguars with the victory over the Bobcats, 6-5. For Blake Collins, I'm Robert Ambrose. Thank you for all for tuning in. Good night, everybody.